This week on Motor Week, an exclusive report from Mike Rutherford at the Turin International Motor Show. Ginny Buckley on living with the Saab 9.5. But first, it's the new version of Nicole's favourite car.
What could be better? The glorious south of France on a beautiful spring day. The sun is shining, the sky is blue, and we're here in search of Nicole and Papa. Well, particularly Nicole, from those dreadfully contrived TV commercials that are filmed around this area that have helped make the Renault Clio one of Europe's best sellers since its launch in 1981. Over 4 million Clios have been sold across Europe, and now it's time for an all-new Clio. The Clio 2 from Renault. Now, when manufacturers decide that they want to change a car, they have a couple of options. Firstly, they go for a radical, completely different look, as Ford have done with the Escort's replacement, the Focus. Or they keep the name, they restyle, they improve features, as say Mazda have done with their new MX-5. Now, however, perhaps the designers at Renault have hit the middle ground with the new Clio. The name stays, obviously. It has a familiar look, yet it is all new. Now, if you've ever driven a Clio before, you'll already know how good it is. So the designers and engineers at Renault have had to work very hard to make the new Clio even better, and they succeeded with a whole new platform, a new body and a new suspension. I really do like the shape of the new Clio. It's very chic, it's very French, it's very Renault, and I love the new rear. It has a huge rakish window, gorgeous styling, and big rear lights for increased safety, and the boot's not bad either for a car of this size. On 3-door models, the front doors are big, which makes getting in and out of the back, even for a 6-footer like me, reasonably comfortable, and quite roomy back there as well. Up front, it's an all-new fascia. Everything is easy and to hand, and a useful display in the centre here on some models. So most importantly, what's the Clio actually like to drive on the open road? Well, not too bad. This is the 1.6 RXE I'm driving at the moment, 90 brake horsepower from that engine. Quite nippy, quite sprightly, although it does sound a bit harsh when you rev it hard. Handling is okay. There's a bit too much body roll though for my liking. Doesn't match up with the new Astra in the way that that handles, and the steering could do with being a little lighter, particularly at low speeds.
Since in other respects the first-generation Clio was already positioned high in its segment, we created 3 essential positioning factors for the new Clio. We decided it must be better in terms of safety and reliability, better in terms of comfort and handling, and better in terms of actual specification, especially when it came to active and passive safety.
Safety, as it should be, is high on the Clio's agenda. It's got twin airbags, certainly on some models. There are new pyrotechnic seatbelt pretensioners and new safety-type head restraints. The body is stiffer, and Renault say they've raised the stakes for small car safety by matching it to their largest vehicles. Now, with any car, there are usually always some dislikes and niggles that you come across, and rather worryingly, I've come across quite a lot in the short space of time that I've had this Clio. The accelerator pedal is a bit sticky. The clutch has a very short travel, and you can even get your foot stuck down there. I haven't got big feet at all. Also, it's got air conditioning in this RXE, and to be honest, it's nothing short of useless. On a fairly warm day like today, 60-odd degrees, it just isn't blowing enough cool air into the cabin. And finally, the hazard warning button, hidden down here almost underneath the handbrake, as if it had been forgotten and somebody said, my goodness, we forgot to put that button on, let's put it down there out of the way. You'll find a Clio to suit your taste with 3 engines available: a 1.2 litre 60 brake horsepower, a 75 brake horsepower 1.4 litre, and the 1.6 litre which kicks out 90 brake horsepower. There'll be a diesel later this year and a 1.6 16 valve if you like your Renault spicy. The Clio is available in 4 trim levels, from entry through RN, RT and luxury RXE, with a price range of £8,370 to £11,700 on the road, and ABS is now standard on 50% of the range. Now, there's no doubt that the Clio is in a very competitive market sector, and the competition doesn't come much tougher than the Polo, the Fiesta, the Corsa and the Micra, to name just a few. Renault predicts sales in 1999 of 60,000 for the Clio, Whether the UK will take it to heart quite as much as the outgoing model, though, remains to be seen. The 1.2 will certainly be the most popular version. And the Clio does have some niggly little items, but it should continue to be what Renault claim it is, a small car with big car refinement.
Today's busy executive is faced with some pretty tough decisions, not least of which is which executive car they should choose to adorn their driveway and transport them in style and comfort from one high-powered business meeting to another. The competition for their business is extremely fierce, and the shopping list seems to be growing and growing. The list may be large, but it seems to be dominated by the Germans. Audi's A6 is a sleek and stylish statement. Mercedes-Benz have combined elegance and quality in their C-Class. And of course, top of every executive wish list is 5 Series engineering and performance from BMW. But there's now a neutral country hot on the heels of the Germans. Sweden is going for the executive car market with all cylinders firing. Volvo have always been known for their reliability and safety, but now they're also doing well in the design stakes thanks to the S70's handsome lines. And the latest attack from the land of snow and vodka has come from Saab in the shape of the 9.5, the replacement for the 9000, and as the name suggests, the car that Saab hope will lure car buyers away from the BMW 5 Series. Pretty ambitious, but Saab feel that the 9.5 has what it takes to take it to the top of the executive chart. There are 3 models to choose from. Top of the range is a 3-litre V6, there's a 2.3 litre, and this, the entry-level 2 litre at £22,000. But this is the slightly more luxurious SE model, and that'll set you back 24.5 grand on the road. But hang on just a minute before you sign the cheque. There's a few things to add to that. £1,220 for the 4-speed automatic gearbox. Leather seats, £1,150. A Saab driving pack with cruise control for £510. And for the luxury of keeping your posterior warm on those cold winter mornings, a cheque for £230 for heated seats. Bringing you to a grand total of just under £28,000. Wow, enough to put you behind the driving seat of a very well-equipped 5 Series or even the Mercedes CLK. So the Saab isn't cheap, but if you can do away with the extras, like the leather and the warmth for your posterior, then you do get a good list of standard equipment. To name but a few, there's driver, passenger and side airbags, electric windows and mirrors, air conditioning, a steering wheel that adjusts for both height and reach, and an excellent stereo. The feeling here inside the cabin is that everything has been designed for people who spend an awful lot of time behind the wheel. Saab, of course, are famed for the comfort of their seats, and work with orthopaedic specialists at the design stage has ensured that these are as comfortable as your favourite armchair. The instrument panel is typically sarved, curving around the driver, putting everything within easy reach. One particularly nice touch is that the instrument panel can be dimmed at night, so it doesn't distract the driver on those long, tiresome journeys home. The driver does have plenty of space, as does the passengers, and there's an awful lot of luggage room for those executive briefcases and other stuff. All around the car are plenty of cubby holes, there's even a map holder, and of course the obligatory cup holders. A couple of irritating points with a rather poor visibility in my particular driving position, and the sound of the indicators that drove me absolutely mad. On the face of it, the 9.5 doesn't look strikingly different to its predecessor, but the changes are ones that you feel rather than see. General Motors have done a deal with Saab to supply the chassis for the 9.5. It's based on the Vauxhall Vectra, but Saab engineers have adapted it so that it puts the Vectra's ride and handling to shame. The 9.5 is smooth and supple and handles well on most roads, but it is a bit let down on sharp bends where it feels rather front heavy and suffers from body roll. The 9.5's engine range has been updated from the old 9000s. Both the 2 and the 2.3 litres get their power from 4 cylinders and a light pressure turbo. And Saab call their engines eco-power, standing for ecology, economy and power. And power it certainly has. There's plenty of torque and the engine really doesn't have to be revved too hard to respond. Good soundproofing ensure that the engine stays quiet, giving you a smooth and a relaxing ride. But what lets the ride down is the automatic gearbox, which just doesn't seem to work in harmony with the engine. It seems to lunge the car forward as it changes, and the 4 speeds just simply aren't enough. A far better deal is to save yourself the £1,200 and stick to the manual option instead. This is without doubt a car you'd be happy to carry around the family in, as it's just packed with safety features. There's ABS, all-round airbags, anti-submarine seats, a head restraint to protect you from whiplash, side impact protection, and there are no less than 8 patented safety features on it. The Saab 9.5 is a well-equipped and comfortable car. It's practical and it's safe. It has a powerful, refined engine. You know that buying the 9.5 would be a sensible choice. It's a car that wouldn't let you down. But it's just not very exciting. It's extremely unadventurous, and it suggests that the kind of person who chooses to buy a 9.5 is a bit boring. The Saab 9.5 will give the 5 Series a run for its money, until it gets to the one point that sits at the top of every executive's wish list: image. You can't help feeling that instead of high-powered business meetings and a fast track to the top, the 9.5 is heading for an early retirement and afternoons on the golf course.
You're watching Motor Week, where after the break we'll go direct to Italy for coverage of the Turin International Motor Show.
I tell you, we've covered some shows here on Motor Week, but nothing quite like this. This is the Turin Motor Show, one of the exhibitions of the year. Great for styling exercises. You're going to see the best designers in the world at work here. And I tell you, what a show we're in for. Only one problem: the plane was horribly, horribly late, and we've got precisely 3.5 hours to take you on a sprint around the Torino Motor Show. Come on, join me. Well, if we could get the Italian equivalent to Murray Walker to shut up for a minute, we might be able to tell you about this interesting little car. Not Italian, very, very German. This is built at Wolfsburg. What the hell is it? Well, it is the new Super Mini from Volkswagen. This is the Sub Polo car, which is going to be going on sale in Britain very soon. It's probably going to be badged as the Lupo, although that's not confirmed yet. And what it does for Volkswagen, it brings the German firm into a sector of the market they've never really competed in before. Remember, this car is smaller than the Polo. It's very much in that sort of Cinquecento sector of the market. It also happens to be based on the Seat Arosa, or vice versa, depending on which way you look at it. Some people would say the Seat Arosa is based on this car, the Volkswagen Lupo. The fact is, the Arosa is on the market. This car, the Volkswagen Lupo, is about to join it in UK showrooms soon, and I think it looks great. No, we're not at a rock concert, we're at the Turin Motor Show, and a Turin show without Alfa Romeo would be a bit like an English football match without lager, wouldn't it? What we have here on the Alfa stand is a new look Spider and GTV, slight tweaks to the exterior design, more significant changes under the bonnet. We've got a 1.8 litre twin spark, 144 brake horsepower engine, new engine that's being unveiled here in Turin. And it's not yet clear whether that will go on sale in Britain, but who cares, because to me it doesn't really matter what's under the bonnet of this car. It just looks sensational. And what with these new colours and the tweaks to the side skirts, the bumpers, etc., they've even tweaked the design of the exhaust pipe. Can you believe that? To make it more aesthetically pleasing. And for me, the Spider and the GTV, still two of the greatest looking sub £30,000 cars in the world. Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we're not in the least bit interested in the Mazda MX-5 because we've seen it here several times before. The reason we're filming this stand is because, and I'm sorry to say this, I'm ashamed to say this, we're very impressed with a woman. Well, it's not often that I get terribly excited at shows like this, because I thought I'd seen it all, but I have never in my life seen anything quite so beautiful as this. I'm joined by Dr. Leonardo, not Da Vinci, Fioravanti. I think I've pronounced it correctly.
Yes, correct.
It's just sensational. Explain to us what it is.
It's in 2 words. It's my love for Ferrari. That means thinking, sportly, elegant, supreme car.
Okay, but we must stress this is nothing to do with Ferrari. This is your venture. In the past, you worked for Pininfarina, for the Fiat Group. So you have a love of Ferrari, but this is not a Ferrari. This is a styling exercise, and you're hoping that maybe Ferrari might adopt your styling exercise?
I make it only for centenary of Ferrari's birth. So this is the philosophy of this prototype. Of course, if in this proposal, in this suggestion, is something that Ferrari are interested, I'm very happy.
Look, I can tell you honestly that it just looks sensational, and I think you've really got to be standing this close to it to appreciate just how beautiful it is. My advice to Ferrari is you need to spice up your range, and this should be in the showrooms on sale with a Ferrari badge, not in the future, but like now. Well, there's just no end to it. Just when you think you've seen the ultimate car, another one comes along. How about this for an Alfa 156? Yes, this is based on the 156 saloon. It's not based on the Spider. This is a Spider version, if you like, of the 156. Sadly, we can't get any confirmation at this stage that Alfa Romeo will build this car, but this is a design study from Pininfarina, the famous Turin-based styling house, and it just goes to show what you can do with a 156 platform. But enough from me. Just take a look at this. Well, you know, they're having their problems out in South Korea, but one company that seems to be riding the storm better than most is Hyundai, the strongest and biggest of all the Korean car companies. They've used the Turin show to unveil their new Sonata replacement. It's called the Sonica. Not quite sure about that name, but maybe it'll grow on me. But I am quite sure about the car. Looks great to me. I always thought the previous generation Sonata was a much underrated car. What Hyundai have to do and will be doing with this car is getting in on that all-important fleet market. This is the sort of car you might be driving as your company car in future. It will start at around about £13,000. Sounds pretty attractively priced to me. 2-litre and 2.5 litre V6 engine. I think the styling's absolutely spot on, and if I was Ford and Vauxhall with things like Mondeo and Vectra, I would be more than a little worried. I reckon it looks great, and the car ain't bad either. Well, I said we were very much on the run here at the Turin Motor Show. I'm not sure what we're letting ourselves in for here. The Tunnel of Love. Oh, hang on, what's this? Looks like the Lancia stand. weird or what. Here we are on the Lancia stand, and it's all a bit surreal. Centre of attention is this, and justifiably so, the DLR, a new concept car from the Italian company. And although it's got some amazing features on it, they say that in fact everything you see on this car, everything will eventually work its way onto production models. Sadly, not in the UK because Lancia pulled out of the UK market, but who knows, they may return. What does it have on board? Well, it's an exhaustive list, but let me just start by telling you this car doesn't have seats. It has armchairs, and that's official. What's more, the armchairs turn, so if you struggle to get out of your motor car, as I do, what with old age creeping on, not a problem in this car. It all does it very automatically almost. There's a little, what's called an ego card, which you put into the dash. That sets up the seat the way you would like it, and other fixtures and fittings on the vehicle itself. Television set in the back. The seat covers are actually chamois leather. Not quite sure how they'll last with the kids, but nice touch nevertheless. But the most interesting thing about this car, the most interesting thing of all, it has a steering wheel, and I'm not joking, that moves from left to right. Yes, if you're going off to Calais for the day, you can switch from right-hand drive to left-hand drive and vice versa. And although that sounds like a crazy idea, if you think about it, it's the way to go for the future. When the car's parked up as it is now, the steering wheel is in the centre, making it easy for the driver and passenger to gain access to the vehicle. When you climb in, at a push of a button, the steering wheel and all the instrumentation switches from one side of the car to the other, depending on whether you're driving in mainland Europe or the UK. An incredible looking car. I mean, stop talking about it, build it.
Next week, continuing our exclusive coverage of the Turin International Motor Show, Mike Rutherford attempts to get the new Bentley out of its box, entices an Italian lovely into his car, plus news on the bizarre-looking but extremely practical Fiat Multipla MPV. Also next week, it's rough and rugged, but does the new Isuzu Trooper make the grade? Chris Goffey investigates. And we sent Ian Royle out to the sunny south of France to test out the revamped Mazda MX-5. That's next week on Motor Week.